Good evening. Yet another Not Live live stream. It might not be a very long one. If you're expecting more on Flat Earth, it's in preparation. I'm talking to somebody else. We're coming up with sort of certain things. We've forgotten the YouTube bit. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm grinning all over my face because the good news is I had quite a successful afternoon recording. So much so that I've got my little tipple with me, and hopefully you can just about see the plasma dome going there. It's more of that black rum and coke. The coke's gone flat, it doesn't help. Oh, I forgot to be polite. Saha. Just in case you were wondering, it's multi, it means good health. Now, it's a slight combination here. It's a bit of a lead-in to something else that's going to happen. As you may have noticed from the opening titles, we had a movie tonight, or a bit of a movie, with an aeroplane in it. Well, that's because my passion for aviation began in Malta, hence Air Malta. What else? And because we will be coming back to that at some point and looking at my whole passion for aviation. But instead of Flat Earth tonight, I discovered something rather frightening in the week, and that is that jet engines don't use fuel. Wow, didn't know that. So, I don't know where to begin with that one. Apart from the fact that in order not to use fuel and use and to use the methods that the non-fuel users are promoting, you've invented a perpetual motion machine. One of the big arguments, and I've got the computer on specifically for this so that we can play with calculators. We're looking at typical modern airliner of today. There's hundreds of them about. Is Airbus A320, and I'm going through the specs. What it doesn't give me is a fuel capacity. Maximum zero fuel load weight of an Airbus A320 is 62,500 kilos. Maximum landing weight is 66,000. This is A320 Neo, I think. I think it's the latest one. This is coming vaguely nicked from I think it's must be an Airbus website. It's not the actual website I'm on. What else do we get? Maximum takeoff weight is 78,000 tons. 78,000 kilos is 78 metric tons. The Neo is 79 metric tons. Engines, CFM 565 series. I'm very disappointed. It doesn't give me their fuel load. Because one of the arguments is that an airliner cannot carry enough fuel to fly all that way because they burn huge amounts, etc. So what they do is they fly along, and if you don't know about the layout of a jet engine, we'll just show you one. At the front you have the compressor, which is quite a few stages of axial flow compressors where basically the channel the air goes through goes from really very wide down to very, very narrow. As it's forced through, you create pressure. Basically, you compress the air. You slow it down, you trade velocity for pressure, you end up with a high pressure lump of air going into the combustors. There's this bit in the middle, and then it's allowed to escape, and you then trade pressure for velocity, and it spins the turbines and out the back. Well, according to the non-fuel people, you don't need the combustor section, because you've already compressed the air. As it expands, it will spin the turbines, which will spin the compressor and provide thrust. Anyone who can't see a fault in that logic, perhaps you need help. And I'm being very polite. Just thinking about it, I need another one. So the problem is when you compress air, it gets hot. Because you're pushing all the molecules together and they bang against each other and they get really agitated and get very hot. That is a change of state of energy, if you like. It's going from kinetic energy, or yeah, it's kinetic, isn't it? The air flowing, you're slowing it down, it gets hot, so it goes to heat energy. That heat energy is not conserved throughout the whole length of the engine, because it's going to be passed into the turbine blades as the air warms up. It's going to be passed into the engine casing, and it will eventually find its way to the outside world, somewhere cooler, and be carried away. So you're losing energy when you compress that air. There is also that big long shaft between the compressor and the power turbine that's driving it. That shaft will have friction. The air itself, as it increases in speed and comes out, it will suffer from friction against the surfaces of the inside of the engine and going through the turbines. There's not a lot of friction, but it's enough. So we then move on to, they can't carry enough fuel. Well, I'm actually trying to find out what the fuel load is in an A320, and it won't tell me. Doesn't want to, tells me the wing sweep back, if anyone's interested, it's 25 degrees. Wingspan, oh look, 34 meters. That might come in handy later if it goes on that long. Why didn't it tell me a fuel load? Oh. One moment, please. The fuel capacity of A320neo is about 21 tons. We're going to use a calculator. The maximum takeoff weight of the Neo is 79 tons. So we're going to start at 79, work backwards. Minus 21. That equals 58 tons. The lightest it can be. Operating empty weight, I assume that is excluding fuel, is 42.6. That's minus 42.6. That brings it down to 15 tons spare. With a full fuel load, we have 15.4 tons spare. The passengers weigh about 6 tons, and they're, I was going to say rubbish. They're stuff. They're freebies. They're whatever. They're duty free. Even if we allow each passenger their own body weight, that only brings it to 12 tons, which leaves us with another 3 tons of spare weight capacity. So there's no problem carrying that weight. How many litres of fuel is that? As we just said, it's 27,000 litres. How do you get 27,000 litres in an aeroplane? Well, you bung it in the wings. And I've heard it said you can't fit that much. The wings are only thin. Actually, airliner wings are really quite thick. They're not like that. I mean, Cessna wing is about that thick at its thickest point. So yeah, we're talking really quite thick wings, and the wingspan is huge. It's here somewhere. It's 34 meters. Wingtip to wingtip is 34 meters. If the wing was a metre thick, or the tank in the wing was only a metre high and a metre wide and 20 metres long, it would hold that fuel. quite comfortably. Right, that's all the, there's the obvious things as well. If anyone has stood behind one of these when it's running, and I wouldn't suggest standing right behind it, but a long way behind it, if you've been at the airport looking at the outdoor viewing area and one has turned in front of you, you will notice two things. One, the air coming out the back is really quite warm. Or as I described it when it wasn't even a jet engine, it was a turboprop that I got stuck behind 300 feet away, and it was very hot. And that's mainly fresh air being blown at you. There's still enough heat coming out of the engine to make it quite hot. And it stinks. It stinks of something that has been burnt. Well, it's after basically, paraffin, or kerosene. It's got burnt fuel in it. If they don't use fuel, explain the heat haze you see behind a jet engine. And explain this. Afterburners. And the first idiot to comment, "Oh, that's LEDs," is going to have to answer some very difficult questions before we send them to a very special hospital, one where they have nice soft comfy walls and things. A bit more. To say that aircraft don't use fuel has got to be one of the world's biggest cons. And we haven't started on piston engines. How do piston engines work then? Or do piston engines aircraft are they actually allowed to burn fuel? And just as an afterthought, the average fuel tank in a car is about 50 litres. They think, my car's only 40. We don't care about your car, we're talking about average. Is about 50 litres. As you can go into your local DIY shop, your DIY superstore sort of place, or tack shop, and you can buy storage containers that hold 50 litres, and you can tuck them under one arm. That's not very big. Anyway, next time we're going to be back with hopefully some more flat earth. We've got been exciting developments there, because we've got a slight problem with underneath. It's all right us being on top, but what about underneath? And there have been some developments, and I'm waiting to hear back from someone about that. In the meantime, carry on with life, enjoy yourselves, drive carefully, dear. And we'll see you all next time.